Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Only You, a podcast made to talk about the decision to have an only child, the stigma surrounding it, and stories and anecdotes from people who've lived it. I'm Jess.
I'm Pierce.
And this is episode 7. This is a mini episode.
Mini episode number 7.
And in this one, we interview Carri Lyons, who actually commented on our post for the thankfulness episode. And her story was so incredible that we absolutely just had to have her on.
As soon as we read her comment, we were like, please, can we interview you?
Yeah.
She wrote a book about her story, and you're about to find out all about it.
Yes. Just right at the top, I will say her book is called Along Came Hope. It's available on Amazon. Again, her name is Carri Lyons, and here's her story. Welcome. My name's Jess. This is Pierce.
Hello, here I am.
And if you don't mind, please introduce yourself.
I'm Carri Lyons.
Well, when we saw your comment, we were just like, we need to get her on because we're going to do a full episode coming up on like IVF and adoption and sort of the ways that people get to the point of having a child, because it's not always just, I think I'll decide to have one or maybe two. You know, for so many people, It's so much bigger than that. And that's why we really wanted to get you on, because there's a perspective that's not often shared.
Oh, right. Absolutely. There's not.
So, Carri, please tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a parent.
Well, it's interesting because my journey or our journey started out like anybody else, where we became pregnant excitedly without any issues at all. And then about 5 months into the pregnancy, suddenly going into labor and giving birth. And having never been pregnant before, you don't know that you're in labor. And then losing our baby because he didn't make it. We were 22 weeks along. And then a year later, I was told that time I should not get pregnant right away. I should wait it out because I had fibroids and I had a cyst on my ovaries, which all seemed to go away after I delivered. But then a year later, almost to the day, I was diagnosed with cancer of the endometrial lining. And because that cancer was a hormone-based cancer, I was told that the best course of action to take would be to have a full hysterectomy and take everything out, including my ovaries. So there were some other options, but honestly, that would have been the most favorable one as far as preserving my life. I didn't want that to happen. My husband had said, I want you here, but it was just, if you get pregnant again and the cancer comes back, what are you going to do? If it comes back, it's going to come back with a vengeance, knowing that at that time they caught it early. So if it's going to come back, it's going to come back.
Was the cancer a factor in losing the pregnancy?
No, they were not connected at all.
Wow.
So, and, for women that have ever been pregnant before, your hormones just go crazy.
Yes.
So, when I was pregnant, I had a cyst on my ovaries, and during the ultrasound, they would say, oh, that's fine. That's kind of normal. Or they would say, you have fibroids. That's normal too. So I don't really know why I went into labor the way I did. But I just had a feeling later on, many years later, that I should have had, I just had a feeling that I should have been given progesterone shots to preserve the pregnancy, but the doctor never, they never gave me that option. It was never even brought up or anything.
And those are the steroid shots that you're given when they know you're going to have an early delivery, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there was nothing that we could do about it then. And then to motherhood. So, obviously going through the full hysterectomy and then realizing that we wanted to become parents. So your only options are adoption, or it would be finding someone that, a woman that could donate her eggs, and a surrogate. So that person could be one and the same, or it could, it's like, well, which way do we go?
Right.
So,
and I thought you maybe said you weren't able to preserve your eggs because of the hormones. Is that right?
Right. That's exactly it. It was
Yeah,
just like, there's no chance. I mean, you might as well get pregnant if you're going to preserve your eggs.
right.
Um, so, um, so that was basically like, you know, that was something that we're like, let's just get through the cancer, the surgery. Let's talk about this later about even having a family, if that's even an option. Let's just heal and get through that, and then we'll talk about that if that comes up later on. And it did. And so we're like, well, it was about a year later that we were like, let's talk about what that looks like, adoption, or, and we're very open-minded people, and both my husband and I kind of imagine try to have a baby, like trying to find a egg donor and trying to have someone that could be a surrogate when there's all these children in the world that
Yeah.
you could help, and so we talked about that. And we're like, well, adoption. And then you go down this whole course of adoption, the rabbit hole. Do you want to do foster, do adopt? Do you want to do international? Do you want to do domestic? And you're like, I don't know what. Um,
Can
so
you tell us a little bit more about the decision process between those three things? Because having never really been down that path before, what's really the difference between international and domestic adoption? Is it really just cost, or are there other factors?
there are other factors, but and I've been asked that a lot. Both of us have been asked that. And ultimately for our decision, you know, that could be looked at very analytically. And for us, it was like, what path speaks to us? That was the only deciding factor, what path speaks to us. There's pros and cons on any path that you go. And if you are on the analytical scientific side, you could weigh all those options and say, well, I'm going to go the option that has the best pros. But honestly, it was like, let's do international, and then we'll just keep going international. And if we keep getting doors shut, then we'll look at a different option. And now that wasn't easy. That was not an easy decision, because as we went on into international adoption, um, I was 35 when we had started the international adoption process, and my husband was 40.
Oh.
So international was going to take a lot longer, but we knew that if we were matched with the child, we would have been matched with that child. We knew that there would have not been that area of disappointment domestically, where each state has their own set of rules going. The birth mother has so much time to basically withdraw her or rescind on her decision.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
and we've had a number of people that we knew that have like literally showed up at the airport, and the agency calls them and says the mom changed her mind.
Wow.
It's
And
so heartbreaking.
Wow.
yeah, and so I was like, no, I can't do that. And so when this happened, when we were thinking about it, social media was not what it is today. Facebook had just come out, and all these stories were coming out about like these long lost adoptive parents being matched with their kids, and it was like there was no really set guidelines within that. And we both felt, after losing our own baby, that we could not. When you look at adoption now in the US, it's primarily open, meaning that you can have communication with the birth parents or the birth grandparents or whatnot. And I wanted a closed adoption. Both my husband and I wanted a closed adoption. I was like, I don't want, Auntie so and so coming out of the woodwork like 2 years later and having that, like, having us be at risk for having a baby taken away. And
after, the trauma that you had already gone through, I'm sure that that feeling was even more intense, because you were
absolutely.
so looking forward to getting this child and being able
Yes.
to have them. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Right. And for anyone that's lost a child or have gone through that part of adoption where the birth parents have, rescinded on their decision, it's heartbreaking, because then you just get your hopes up and your hopes up and your hopes up. And so that was one factor, and of just going, I don't want to go through that again. Like, I just don't, because we lost the baby and then we had cancer, and that was like another part of the grief. But then also knowing that with social media, that I was like, okay, that is really bringing the gap of how big the world is and making it smaller.
Yeah. Right.
So that was just another aspect of that too. And it was exciting too. And also, when you do like domestic adoption, you kind of have to put together some sort of like portfolio, like family album, like, look at us, we want to adopt, and we're this cute couple.
Pick me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And I'm trying to keep my voice down because our daughter's sleeping right
Ours
now. So, so yeah, you get it.
Yeah, totally.
So it was like, pick me. And here we are, we're living in Utah, we're living in a condo, and we're the Ing couple. We are the hiking, biking, running, skiing. We don't have the big house. We don't have the 2-car garage, or, 3-car garage. We don't have the 2 cars. We had 1 car because we commuted to work. And I was just thinking, like, how can we compete with that? If you have a mother who's like 15, 16, who's she going to choose? Where we're like, like, we don't really want the big house. We want to go skiing, and we want to raise our child like that. And that was another decision that turned us off, kind of going, what happens if we just went internationally and just went that direction, and just gave it our all, just to see what would happen without even seeing the future.
Right.
Like we like, it was like literally like having like a dartboard, and you're just like, I think we'll go here. So, and it was like that because we really wanted to adopt from Asia, but and when I say Asia, I mean we tried China. And I said earlier what our ages were. They said, your husband's too old. You've had cancer. You're basically damaged goods. So we went through another country. That country closed their borders to adoption. We tried another country within Asia. They said, your husband's too old. We tried India. They said, you're not going to get a baby. So basically, Asia was off.
Wow.
And then we looked at Guatemala and Haiti, and their borders to adoption closed because of the big earthquake that had happened right before. So that closed. South America and Mexico, that was just there was like no program set up. It wasn't like black and white. We're like, no. So we finally went back to our adoption agency and we're like, where can we adopt? Like literally, because we have basically been told, and this is one of those things, okay, every door is being shut. And they said, Ethiopia. And we went, what? That is clear on the other side of the world. And because it wasn't even like a thought, because it was so foreign and something that we had never even looked at. And this is a decision that was really like based on faith, like the international adoption, we chose it because there was like something that emotionally spoke to us. But then we were doing research, which was really doing Google images.
Yeah, sure.
That's
kids,
research.
Right. And every picture that we came across with every person born in Ethiopia, they smile with their eyes. You can see their soul in their eyes. And we made that decision in about 5 minutes.
That's so cool.
So that is why, but we still had to get clearance. We had to get like more clearance, to make sure that I was health-wise, that the cancer was not going to be an issue, that my husband was not going to be too old, because the adoption was going to take a number of years. And then they would have looked at my husband's age going, well, by the time the baby comes, your husband's going to be 45. He's going to be too old, and
isn't it crazy how, like we were saying before, the way that people assume, having children is just deciding how many you want. And then you go down a road like this and it's like, they're vetting you for all these things that a lot of people wouldn't even have to really consider if they were going through a traditional pregnancy. It's just a huge amount of research and dedication and time and effort and getting your hopes up and being crushed. And it's just all these things that a lot of people just really don't even know about.
so that kind of led down to the path of how are we going to afford the adoption?
Yeah.
Just the act of doing the adoption, because it was going to be about 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like one of these things where they're like, well, you can take money out of your 401k, or you can take money against your house. And we're like, we live in a condo. Like, like literally 2 years before that, we had moved from Omaha, Nebraska to Salt Lake City, and we had sold everything in Omaha. And we're like, we're living downtown, we're going to go skiing, and then all
Nice.
this had happened. And then we're like, now what? We don't have a house because, we didn't really need one. And so what we did is that we did a fundraiser. I don't know, did I mention this part to
You
you
did,
guys?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so how did this lead to you jumping on your
When
bike?
do we get to the bicycling part?
so, and that was really it. It was kind of like, okay, so it's going to be about 30,000, and knowing that to file your paperwork with the adoption agency and with that country, you need about 10,000 up front that you just start like writing checks to. And we're like, oh gosh, like, how are we going to do that? And we're like, we can fundraise for it. And we're like, well, we can, like, we're the in couple, hiking, biking, running, skiing, whatever. And we're like, well, we could do a 5K, or we could do a 10K, or we could do cupcakes, or we could do a garage sale. Well, we can't do a garage sale because we don't live in a house. But and we were just thinking, like, that's not big enough. Like, this is a legitimate undertaking. Like, we are doing the right of our lives. And we're like, no, it needs to be bigger. And then we were driving to work one morning, and we crossed Interstate 80, and Interstate 80 goes to Omaha from Salt Lake City. And we're like, oh my gosh, what could we ride our bikes? What would that look like? And so it took us like basically an entire year to say, we are going to put together this plan, and we're going to ride our bikes from Salt Lake City to Omaha, which ended up being 1,083 miles. And we did it in 80 hours, because that's all the vacation time I had. Like, this is like corporate people going, what can we do within our own resources?
Right.
So, I mean, and this is before like crowdfunding came out, so it was like, we're going to do a blog, and you could see our pictures, and here's our Facebook page.
Right.
So, yeah. And so that's how the bike ride came about, because we're like, we need it, we need to make this a big undertaking and a big effort. And I'm so glad that we did it. Like, I'm just so, and funny enough, the biking part wasn't even the hard part. It was like the marketing and trying to figure out where we were going to stay, and, getting, just so many people behind us. And it was an amazing effort. And it makes us realize, like, I can't wait to bike across the country. So,
wow.
So that's where that came from. And I'm so glad that we did it, because we were able to fundraise 28,000.
So you said you used up all your vacation time. So you literally got home, then like the next day went to work? After?
No, we got, okay. I built in,
okay, I see.
Some relaxation time.
No, I built in like 2 days.
Nice.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still not a ton.
But... Yeah. It was, did we rent it? I think we rented a car and we drove back. Like, we drove back on a Friday, and I had to be back to work on Monday.
Wow.
I think it was. Yeah. But I remember, like, we were starting. So the first day we set out, we had to do 99 miles. And that was over 3 mountain passes on the first day, right? So that was on a Thursday that we're going to do it. And I remember, like, on the Monday before, going, can I have the day off before we do this? Like, I never even had the day off. I was like, can I please take the day off? And they're like, yeah. I was like, are you sure? It was like unpaid time or whatever in the corporate world. But I was like, I cannot believe, like, here I am. I don't have the day off like the day before. And this is like...
So all that being said, that was an absolute journey for you.
Yeah.
So now that you're, the mother of an only child, because I'm assuming, you're happy with that.
Only. Yes.
And you don't want to add any more children to the family. Do you get those questions about, are you going to have another one? Are you going to adopt another one, kind of thing?
Yeah, we do. And I know that people mean well, like, and so I'll just be like, oh gosh, like, we're way too old, and we are. I mean, that's really, what, ultimately that is funny because we have a 7-year-old, I'm 46, and my husband just turned 50. He's 51 now. So by the time she graduates from high school, he's going to be 62 and I'm going to be 57. So there's that aspect, but also knowing that there's another way that we could adopt. We could do the domestic adoption. We could do foster to adopt. But the thing is, like for us, we are filled with so much joy with her, but I can't imagine bringing in a second child who would never live up to the story that she has.
Yeah, that's so true, actually.
You
She's like an
Yeah.
epic child.
Yeah, and they would be like in the shadows. And
Yeah.
I always, when I grew up, I always felt like I was in the shadows, and I wouldn't want to do that to someone else, and that may sound selfish, but she's got such a grand story that I just really want to do that. And it's our family of 3, and I love that.
Yeah.
I could tell you it's hard being in Utah where there's a lot of big families there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of big families, and them not having siblings, but there's a reason why we're a family of 3. And just to have one, the undertaking of just to take one was so great that I don't know if we would have energy to have a second one.
Yeah.
To even go about it, And so I think that I just remember, like, there was some women that I saw that I met, and they were like, I just want baby number 4. And I was
Oh
like,
man.
oh my gosh. I was furious. I was like, I just want one. I just want one. But I understand it with the whole sibling thing. I mean, I understand that. And I just know that that's not in our destiny. And I think if I were to ask my husband that, he would be like, oh yeah, totally.
Well, there's lots of things in this world that would be nice. We
Sure,
can't give our
yeah.
child every single
Yeah.
experience under the sun. We can only give them what we have to give. And for a lot
Right.
of us, siblings just aren't in the cards. But there are a
No.
lot of other amazing aspects to life.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And it's just so fun to see her. Like, we have fur animals, or we have a dog, and we got a cat over
Yeah.
with COVID and everything. And she's always had a dog. Ever since she came home, we had another dog. And to see her with the animals has been amazing. But to also see her, like, I don't know if, I just love to see just the 3 of us and what we do. Like, my favorite number is 3, and just being able to travel and to see her have time with her dad by herself, or have her time with me by myself, and I think that that's pretty fantastic, because once you start adding kids, there seems to be some jockeying for position around, and you don't have to do that. And she's like, I just wish I could have a baby brother. I'm like, you would have to share your toy.
Yeah.
It's not all
It-
fun and games with these siblings.
right. And it is hard when she has to see her friends leave and whatnot, but it's been a blessing as well. I think that as a family, because we're choosing not to have another one, but you just kind of find your way in life and really find other families that you connect with that are also, families of 3, because there's something special I think there's something so special in having one and onlys. There's something so special that no one can really appreciate unless you're already there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
And not only that, but also, like, the hard part of going, I have to be her playmate. I have to be the enforcer. I have to be your best friend. I have to be, you're so much to that person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, it's a lot of pressure to be, kind of everything to your child. And they don't have those other siblings to kind of, teach them things that sometimes siblings can teach. I'm one of 5. And so my elder siblings parented me a lot. And so
Yeah.
when you're the parent of an only child, everything's on you, from tying your shoes to how to find cool music to listen to and how to find a boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. It all kind of falls onto you. But we talk a lot about encouraging strong bonds with our friends, you know,
Yes.
and being the house that people can hang out at, making sure that there's, you know, a way for them to have their friends over and stuff. There's ways that you as a parent can kind of facilitate more relationships for them. And we're
Yeah,
obviously very
absolutely.
early in all that, but
Yeah, pretty early. Yeah.
Right. And I think that just from what I've seen of our daughter, there's something developmentally in that where they just become more mature because they are trying to get to your level, you know, and they don't have
Yeah.
anybody speaking for them. Like they don't have another sibling speaking for them. And, you know, there's just a strong bond, you know, within that, which you share. And I mean, it's amazing. We have some other friends and their daughter is 23 and she's a one and only. And you know, we were asking them about it and they're like, it's been great. I would have never changed it for anything. They're like, because, you know, we could go up to her and be like, we're going to go to Disneyland today because if we had 3 kids, we would never be able to afford it.
Totally. Absolutely. Or like, what's your favorite thing to do right now? Go-karts? All right, I guess that's what we're going to do.
Go-karts.
There's no other
Yeah.
kids to fight about it with.
Yeah.
Oh, no, exactly. And, you know, I think that that's pretty great. And just,
Yeah.
you know, there's something, like I said, there's something so special about it.
Well, you've naturally kind of been answering all of our questions.
Yeah,
This has been a
absolutely.
great conversation.
Yeah.
And we've talked so much about all the positivity, the great things about having an only child. Could you single out like what you think the most challenging part of having an only child is?
It's really, I believe it's that being, you know, that everything to that child, you
Yeah.
know, coming up with like playtime. And then, you know, you have to be the enforcer. You have to be, you know, the one that's there to wipe the tears. And, and that has been so apparent with COVID because our daughter was in kindergarten when that happened. And now with school. So in March, it was like, you don't get to be with your friends at all.
Yeah.
And to really come up with things going, okay, we really have to make a point to be like, you just can't say, well, go to so-and-so's house or whatever. And it's coming back now just with COVID now flaring up. And you really have to set, you know, like you're like, how am I living in my own home and showing that person to be a really good human being? Like, let's play games. We are going to play a game and this is what we do. And you're setting objectives. So you really have to be more mindful about how you interact in your own home because they're going to be right there on you. You know, you can't be, you know, I think that sometimes when they go play with like their siblings or their friends, like they don't, like, you know, they just don't remember that they're there, but they see so much of everything going on in your own home and making sure that they, you know, that you can't be like, they're going to feel excluded if you're like upstairs in your room because they don't have anybody else there.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah,
You know?
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if the biggest worry is being everything for them, maybe just trying to include them in everything is the ticket, you know? So
Right.
if you really do have to be their forever companion, especially during COVID, you know, find something you both like. Let's learn how to bake cakes together or puzzles.
It was so, I know. And that's like really been a big thing, is like allowing them to grow their independence too. But like biking, for example, like, you know, she was 2 years old and she got her first bike. She was like, like she looked at it like, what is that? And we're like, if you're going to hang with us, you're doing what we're doing, you know? So, and so funny enough, we have all these like bike trails over around here. They're like dirt, like mountain biking trails.
Yeah.
And she's 7 and she is like rocking those like a rock star,
That's
you
so
know?
cool.
And I, you know, I just love that to see her with that and to make sure that I don't give in to her whining, you know, absolutely. I don't give into the whining at all. And sometimes you can, it depends on what age they are. But now I'm like, she fell today. I was like, you got to get up. Someone's coming. You got to get up.
There's really only one option right now, and it's not to stay down there.
Yeah. So that's just been a ton of fun to bring them into your world and share those things.
It sounds like you guys have given her such an incredible life. Like, all
Oh,
those negative stigmas about only children, I feel like you single-handedly have knocked a lot of those down because you have given this little girl such an incredible story and
oh,
life. And
thank you.
it's
She's
really been,
giving us life.
I'm
She has
sure,
just
yeah.
given us life,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's been, yeah, it's amazing for her. And we just can't wait to see, how she grows and who she, grows up to be. And I think what I want to leave some people with is that I know that because she's adopted, like she is not mine. I am her mom. I am her mom, but I have been given such a gift to be a vessel to raise her because I want to raise her to be independent and to be on her own. And I know that I cannot keep her here forever. My job is to raise her to let her fly, whatever that means for her. And maybe that took me losing a child to understand that. So
Yeah,
because it's such a gift.
that's powerful. Thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. I think our
Right.
listeners are going to learn so much from you, and
Thank you.
hopefully they'll feel sort of like the awe from your story that we do.
Oh,
So it's just
I
really
appreciate
incredible.
that.
Would you mind plugging your book for me?
Oh, yes. So my book, it's Along Came Hope, and it's on Amazon. Along Came Hope by Carri Lyons, and it's basically walking through the story of how we got our little Miss Hope, because that's what we would call her before she came home, because we had waited so long for her. So it's called Along Came Hope. It's available on audio, and you can get the paperback version as well.
Perfect.
That's
All
so
right.
cool.
Well, it's been amazing meeting you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you,
we
Carrie.
Likewise.
so appreciate this, especially at this very late hour.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
All right.
know.
Well,
All right.
stay
Thank you.
safe and have a wonderful night. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So we're back, and that was a great interview.
Yeah. It was amazing having her on our podcast. Again, Carrie, thank you so much if you're listening to this. And to all of our listeners, we hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Next week's episode is going to be called The Long Road to Parenthood, and we focus on folks who went through IVF, adoption, other types of infertility experiences, and why that led them to be one and done. If you have stories about that, please email in at onlyyoupod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at onlyyoupodcast or Facebook at onlyyou, a one and done podcast. We also ask, if you don't mind, please leave us a review, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. It helps us a lot. Thanks again so much for listening, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Toodaloo.